still. My name is Francis O'Toole. I'm a member of the economics department, but I'm also the director of the BESS program. And the BESS program is business, economics and social studies. Essentially, it's a combination of business, economics, sociology and political science. And I'll go into some detail about what kind of a combination it is of that. And today what I plan to do for about 30 minutes is to give a basic presentation or a basic overview of that program. I'm happy to accept questions afterwards. I guess to begin with I'll be predicting the type of question that you'd want to ask, and I'll try to answer it before you actually raise it, but there'll be some time left at the end for you guys to raise some questions, and obviously then I can direct you towards the relevant desks that we'll have around college as well. So welcome to Trinity obviously, but in particular welcome to the Business, Economics and Social Studies program. Okay, I guess the key thing, obviously you're in Trinity, you've probably got a good idea about Trinity, but the BESS program is located in Trinity College. It's a historical campus. I guess lots of international students here, lots of our own students go abroad at some stage during the program, in particular usually in third year, either for half the year or many of our students will go away for a full year. So we're thinking in terms of not just the Irish experience but also the international experience. We are we believe we're the leading Irish research university, and we're also a leading university in European and world terms. Having said that, it's only fair to recognise that our ranking has slipped somewhat in the last 12 months. So in terms of our ranking, we were first, 14th and 76th in terms of Ireland, Europe and the world. We're still first. We slipped unfortunately to 41st, and we slipped unfortunately to 117 in terms of Europe and the world. Having said that, it's only fair to say, given that I've given you some of the bad news, the good news is that there's a very small difference between something like 14th and 41st. One small change in one variable will slip you down or slip you back up. So I guess there's a good chance we'll slip back up, hopefully to 14th next year. But basically the leading university in Ireland. But I guess what I'm trying to sell you today, or tell you about today, is the BESS program in any case. So it should be the BESS program you should be particularly interested in. In terms of the BESS program, for good or bad, the main characteristic of the BESS program is in first year it gives you an opportunity. I guess it kind of forces you to do a little bit of business, a little bit of economics, a little bit of sociology and a little bit of political science. We're basically assuming, I teach in first year for example, but we're basically assuming that you haven't done any of these things before. If you have done it, I guess to some extent it's a bonus, but experience suggests it doesn't make much difference at the end of the year. So in particular I'm involved in the teaching of the economics, the first year economics course, and maybe about 40% of those students will have taken economics before. The other 60% won't have taken economics before, and by the end of the year the results don't differ across the two groups, so it really doesn't seem to make too much of a difference. I guess it's possible that people who have done economics before tend not to do too much work in it and concentrate on other things, so it still is possible there's some advantage of having done economics, but it's certainly not a big deal. So don't panic about not having done sociology before. I think it's difficult to do sociology and the Leaving Cert may not be even possible. It may be possible at the A level if you're coming from a UK background. Similarly with political science, I don't think it's possible to do in the Leaving Cert. Business, you can do certain business type exams for the Leaving Cert, and economics is obviously an option, but in practice it's one that not too many students choose. So we don't expect you to have done economics or business before. Okay. In particular, even if you're really, really interested in economics already, somehow, and you really want to specialise totally in economics, in general, in Trinity, and probably in most universities around Ireland, you have to do other things with economics, first of all, and then at some stage concentrate perhaps exclusively in economics. So in the BESS program, for example, you have to do a number of things in first year. I'll give you some more details in a few minutes. And then in second year, you can start to specialise in economics. In particular, you could do 4 or 5 economic modules out of 6 in second year, and definitely in third and fourth year, you could specialise exclusively in economics. And the same type of story applies to if you want to specialise in business, commerce you might think of it as, or sociology or political science. So to begin with, we think it's important that you have an overview of the social sciences plus 1 or 2 other things, and then you can choose to concentrate as much or as little as you want to. So in particular, at the end of the 4-year period, let me just jump ahead slightly. At the end of the 4-year period, what will you have on the assumption that each of the years goes well for you? You can either have a single honours degree in business, it's actually called a BBS degree, or you can have a single honours degree in economics, or sociology, or political science. More generally speaking, most people tend to end up with a joint honours degree. That means you end up more or less an expert in two areas. Business and economics is quite a popular combination. I think a lot of students come in thinking they're going to do business, concentrate exclusively on business, and when they get here they decide, listen, some of the other stuff was interesting, I think I'll do that as well, at least to begin with, and see what happens. So business and political science, business and sociology, etc., etc. All combinations basically are possible. At the end of the 4-year period, you will have a BESS degree, but you'll either have a single honours degree in one of the 4 disciplines or subjects, or else you'll have a joint honours degree in 2 of the 4 disciplines. So that's ultimately where you're heading up. So I guess we think in terms of this as being a combination of kind of general stuff you do in first year because you're not quite sure what to do when you come out of Irish second level in general. So that's great. It leaves lots of choices available after first year. But then if you discover what you really like and what you don't like, then you can specialise in the thing you like. So we think we manage somehow to get a balance between keeping it very general to begin with, but then as specific as you want it to be by the end of your 4th year in college. Okay, I guess we could say we're the premier programme or course in terms of studying business, political science, sociology and economics. To be fair, we might be the only course that actually allows you to do that, but we prefer to spin it as we're the best as opposed to we're the only. I guess we're the best and the only. In particular, in terms of combining business with another social science or with a social science subject, we think we're the only one, at least we were this time last year. Choice and flexibility, I think I've kind of indicated that already. Not just in terms of will you study 1 or 2 of the disciplines, but within those disciplines there's also lots of choice available. And again, as we go through the presentation, that'll become quite obvious, I think. So lots of choice available. Okay. Okay, what is business studies? I guess as an economist I have to be careful here, so I'll tend to almost read from the page at this stage. But there's lots of different areas within business studies that you might end up concentrating upon. So it could be marketing, it could be human resource management, kind of labour, it could be operations, strategy, planning, finance, accounting. So these are the different areas you can specialise even within business. Again, not surprisingly, in the first year you'll do a standard overview of everything that's business. In second year you'll kind of concentrate in more detail on lots of stuff related to business. And then especially in third year and fourth year, you can specialise, say, marketing and management, or you could specialise in finance and accounting, depending on what you think you want to do after your 4th year. That'll influence what you're doing. I guess in practice what the business school is trying to get to is a stage where you understand how business organisations, institutions, and systems actually work. Okay? So there's no placement as such, but I guess in practice students tend to go off and work during the summer, and I guess if you're really into business then it's possible you relate it to your business courses or business modules as you go through the 4 years. Okay? Basically about managing people, markets, money. This presentation will be available in different formats later, so you can kind of go into as much detail or as little detail as you want to on each slide, and obviously be around at various desks to answer questions. And I'll also take questions at the end of this basic presentation. Economics, feel a bit more comfortable in economics as an economist. I guess at some level you're trying to develop the concepts and tools necessary for public policy. When we talk about public policy in the context of economics, I guess something like unemployment. Maybe the slide originally said something how to prevent unemployment, but in practice it might be how best to deal with unemployment, so to limit unemployment. We had regulation of financial markets. I guess we should think in terms not just regulating, but regulating them properly, because I guess we can all see the damage associated with financial markets not being regulated properly. So it's all very well having lots and lots of regulations. You might decide which regulations are the appropriate ones to have, but of course enforcement of the regulation is a crucial thing as well. Okay? So we're not just thinking in terms of, in an ideal world, what regulations would you have, but you're also trying to think of it from a political economy point of view. How in practice can you enforce these regulations, or can you in practice enforce some regulations you might think you might want? We're also interested in market power. I guess the market power of large firms should be restrained to at least some degree. Climate change, possibilities of modules in environmental economics. LDCs, lesser developed countries, so you're thinking in terms of how best, in terms of development economics, to help poorer countries. Again, key thing that I've already mentioned here, there's no prior knowledge of economics assumed, and results definitely bear out the claim that it really doesn't make much difference at the end of first year. I guess often we prefer to have a clean slate. In practice, a lot of people who are teaching economics at second level haven't really got too much economics to begin with. I'm sure there's some excellent teachers of economics as well in second level, but we can certainly live with you not having economics beforehand. Okay, in terms of careers, First thing I usually say if I go to a school is that if someone wants to do drama studies, they should do drama studies. If you want to do history of modern art, you should do history of modern art. You get one chance at being 18. Most of you guys are 18. You get one chance at doing what you're really, really interested in doing. So do it. Having said that, if you're not quite sure what you want to do, at some level this is kind of negative, but BESS is a very good degree for you because you do lots of different things in first year. Then you can find out what you like, what you don't like, and specialise in the things that you like. So it's a very safe thing to do. And increasingly, in my younger days, the first degree that you did, your undergraduate degree, made a huge difference. It really influenced what happened to you afterwards. Increasingly, it's not that important. It's important to do well, or not to do badly, I guess, is really what's important. But employers will mould you, in some sense, into what they want. What they really want is someone that has shown they can come through all the hoops and get a decent degree at the end of it. And they're almost not interested in what degree you have. Obviously, if you plan to go into medicine, people are interested in what degree you have. But in many other cases, it really doesn't make that much difference what you've done. So you should do what you're really, really interested in. If you have a love of a particular thing, then explore it when you're 18, 19, as most of you are. But having said that, if you do BESS, what can I say? Almost every career is open to you. Very, very few careers are ruled out, to the extent, of course, that there are jobs, and you would hope in 4 years' time there'd be plenty of jobs as opposed to the way things are now. So I think maybe the best selling point of BESS is that it keeps so many doors open. Now, I think you'll see on the website a list of things you can do with a BESS degree, but I think it'd be almost more useful or informative to kind of say the things you can't do. So maybe dentistry, pharmacy, medicine, a few things like that. Having a BESS degree probably isn't going to help you very much, although people can increasingly do some of those degrees as a second degree, as a graduate level degree. So almost everything is ruled in: public service, teaching, research, European institutions, domestic institutions, civil service, management, finance, accounting. All those things are possibilities. Social work, kind of a possibility in the sense you can go on and offshoot at some stage. Okay, sociology, I guess it's about patterns of relations. Trying to understand everyday experiences as members of society. So sociology, again, something you won't have come across at second level, or almost certainly you won't have come across at second level, although it might input into one or two different modules you might do at second level. I guess inequality will be one of the main focuses of sociology. Work, trying to understand work. Migration studies, mobility studies. These are kind of typical studies you would encounter in the study of sociology. And again, social movements like feminism, the more recent, I suppose, the fair trade movement, are things that you can explore in sociology. So again, in first year, there'll be a very broad overview, and as you move into second, third, and fourth year, then you can specialise in particular what's of interest to you. And again, kind of to some extent, set aside the stuff that wouldn't be of interest to you. Political science or politics, I guess it's at this stage the scientific study of politics, power, the working of political institutions. I guess it's how democracy works, how people vote. So in general, each year you'll usually have some kind of a semi-exciting vote at least, and you can explore it using the mechanisms of political science. Okay, so it could be in terms of future changes to the EU treaty. Why will people vote yes? Why might they vote no? How you actually vote, how you actually try to put together the votes. I mean, I guess when it's a yes-no, it's not too difficult to work out who wins. You simply go on the yeses and the nos. But often if you go back a level, you can actually try to explore questions like, what question will actually be asked? If you ask the question in a different way, if you ask a different question, you might well get a different vote. So again, politics can kind of explore those kind of issues. What actually happens if you come into BESS in first year? Well, what happens if you come into BESS in first year is we kind of force you more or less to do standard stuff in first year, and then increasingly give you more control over your destiny. So in first year, you have to do what are called 6 modules. They each give you kind of 10 ECTSs. You've got 5 modules that you have to do. You have to do an introduction to economics that I'm half responsible for. So you're kind of stuck with me for half the year in microeconomics, but you'll also have half in macroeconomics. You have to do a module in management, business. You have to do a module in political science, politics. You have to do a module in sociology. And you also have to do a combined module in maths and stats. Okay. People often ask, well, how much maths do you need? I mean, formally there's a requirement that you guys probably will know as much as I do about. So there is a requirement in terms of the level of maths you need. I guess all else equal, particularly for economics, the more comfortable you are with maths, the easier your life will be. I guess if you get the bare minimum requirement, it might mean, probably will mean that you'd find the maths and stats more difficult than someone that gets an A1 or an A3 or a B3 in Leaving Cert maths. So I guess we're interested in how comfortable you are with maths, but there is a requirement that takes account the importance of maths. And then you have one optional module, and basically you choose from a suite of possible modules. One is Introduction to Law, one is in Social Policy, a combination of two half modules in Social Policy, and then it's also possible to do a language. I think we'll say a little bit about the language in a second, but for some of the major languages, the more popular languages at a second level, you'd have to meet a certain requirement. So you'd have to have done either German, Spanish or French before if you wanted to do either of any of those three languages as your first year module, as your module option. I think we also have Russian and Polish, and you can start those from scratch. Now, part of the reason that you will be doing one of those 5 languages is to keep open the option of going away in third year and studying abroad through that language. So again, we have to make sure that you're going to reach a level of proficiency in the language that would allow you to go abroad. Okay. In second year, well, you still have to do 6 modules, but now you start choosing what you're interested in, or perhaps more relevant to some of you at least, what you're not interested in. So most people will keep 2 options open. They'll be thinking in terms of, well, listen, I'm kind of, say, interested in economics and business. So if I want to keep options open with respect to economics, I must take 3 economic modules. If at the same time I want to keep options open in business, I must take 3 business modules. So there you have your 6 modules already. If you want to do political science or sociology, I think you have to do at least 2 modules in each one. So at this stage, you have to start making choices, or at least prepare yourself for making choices by the time you get to third year. If you keep the option open of economics and business, for example, during second year, then when you come to third year, you now have a new choice. Will I do single honours business? Will I do single honours economics? Or will I keep, in a sense, doing joint honours business and economics? So all the time you try to look forward and seeing where you're going to end up, and that'll influence like how restricted your choice will be. You can keep, in general, you can keep open the language option, and I guess the key thing here is to make sure if you're planning to go away to France and study through French in third year, then you would need to make sure that you're doing not just the introduction to French, not the introduction I shouldn't say, but the French language option in first year, but you'd also need to do the French language option in second year. Okay. Broad curriculum courses or modules, it's possible to take a broad curriculum module in second year in BESS. So the idea here is you could do something like drama studies in second year, or philosophy, or whatever it might be in second year. But all you would do is get a flavour of it. You'd do one module. It's not that you would qualify in law or drama studies because you took that. It's more just to give you a basic introduction to that particular topic or that subject. One other thing I should mention in terms of second year, at roughly this time of the year, in fact just after Christmas, there's a scholarship examination. And if you do very, very well in that scholarship examination, then you get free rooms in third and fourth year, and you get, I don't know, is it a half pint of Guinness every day in Commons? That kind of stuff. Toby, again, you might know more about that. I think you might have a right to keep sheep in Front Square as well. There's all these kind of urban myths about what you can and can't do as a scholar. But it's worth a lot. Not just in terms of kind of accommodation, which is obviously very valuable, but it's worth a lot in terms of your CV. And in fact, even doing the exam and doing quite well in the exam is worth to mention in your CV. But if you actually get scholarship, then it really is a big thing. Okay. What happens in third and fourth year? I think I've already addressed this in the sense that you decide, do you want to specialise in 1 or 2 subject areas or disciplines, and you go ahead and do it. But I guess even if you decide to specialise in one particular subject, you can also decide to specialise in one area of that subject. So you get lots of choices when it comes to third and fourth year. In third year, you still have to do 6 modules, but in fourth year, you only do 4 modules. But there's a huge suite of different modules offered in third and fourth year because you have different students going off in different directions. Study abroad option in third year. A number of the students that go abroad will go away for the full year. It's also possible to go away for the half year. I think on the next page or the next slide I'm going to have different places you can go. We have a number of programs that we kind of operate. They tend to be European based ones, and we kind of really help you in terms of going abroad with respect to those places. But it's also possible for you to try to make arrangements to go abroad to study wherever you want to study, just that it's more up to you to make those arrangements. Okay, so at some level, I could say you can go almost anywhere in third year, but in practice we tend to direct you to certain places that we know are decent and we know that you're kind of safe in an academic sense. Okay? They're not all in Europe, but many of them are in Europe because they're kind of sponsored by the European Union or the European Commission. By the time you get to third year and fourth year in particular, you tend to have tutorials, small tutorials. What happens in first year, not trying to missell the place. What happens in first year is this might be a typical, almost a typical, it will be the first lecture in Introduction to Economics, might have this number of people in it. But by the time you get to fourth year, you might have groups of something like 20 in the lecture, and then you might have 2 weekly meetings of 10 of those 20 meeting in a tutorial as opposed to a lecture. So when you, I should have said, when you come into first year, you do maybe 2 lectures in each of the 6 modules per week, but you'll also have a weekly, approximately a weekly tutorial. And that's where you might address kind of issues in a smaller group setting. And that might be with a graduate student, or in some cases might be with a lecturer, but usually with a graduate student when you're in first or second year. But when you come to third and fourth year, then you'll have the benefit or the pleasure of kind of meeting with the lecturer in a very small group setting. Okay. At the end of third year, you're entitled to take a pass degree. Most people attempt to stay on for the fourth year and get the honours degree, but you do actually technically have the option of taking your pass degree at the end of third year and moving on. I guess if you don't do very well in third year, we might kind of cajole you into taking the pass degree and moving on. But it's not an option that's taken by very many people. I think it's possible that Michael O'Leary, for example, might have taken it, and it didn't seem to hold him back too much, depending on your view of Michael O'Leary. I've mentioned the 5 languages already. You have to have done French, German and Spanish before. You have to have done pretty well in French, German and Spanish to be allowed to do the French, German or Spanish option. Russian and Polish start at the beginning. I think in terms of some of these, it's possible that there's a limited number of places. So it is possible, it's unlikely, but it's possible if you want to do French or Spanish, we may have to operate some kind of a quota system. That hasn't happened in the past, but just it is possible to happen. And again, I want to be as fair as possible and not trying to mislead you. There's also a particular option available for French-speaking students in terms of possibility of going away for their in 4th and 5th year and having 2 degrees at the end of 5 years as opposed to 1 degree at the end of 4th year. But let me direct you to the website for further information on that. I'm not an expert in that particular program, but a very small number of students would take it, but they tend to be very happy at the end of their 5 years. So it seems to work out very well, but it seems to be limited to a very small number of students who would want to do it, but they tend to be quite happy at the end of it. It works out quite well. Different places, I mean, it's all over the shop in a sense in terms of where you could go, but I guess Europe, the main place. The States, some people will go to the States. We have included Sweden in there, I think. Japan, I've been connected with the Japanese program just outside Tokyo. China. So there's a number of different programs. I know we don't have South Africa in here, but South Africa is also a place that some students have gone. So if I was actually going to label all the places people have gone, the chances are it'd just be a series of dots across the whole globe, which wouldn't be very useful. But these are kind of programs that we're involved in terms of sponsoring or administrating. Okay, what do you do at the end of your 4th year? I've already kind of given it away in the sense at the end of your 4th year you can kind of do anything. Perhaps as opposed to, maybe you may not be able to practice medicine, but you can almost do anything else. Teaching, accountancy, entrepreneur, you name it. Okay, points. People seem to be fixated with points, and why wouldn't you be? These are the points. The key thing to note here is that we've 236 places available. So we've lots of places available, and that tends to mean that the points don't jump around too much. And that's kind of important, I think, from your point of view, because the key question you're going to ask me is, how many points will I need next year? Don't know, but the chances are to be close to 480. And with many programs, they can't say that. They just say, I don't know. But we can say the chances are it's close to 480. So if you get 485, well, I should try to correct for the fact that they're changing the point system. But to the extent that you can compare the new point system with the old point system, something equivalent to 480, 485 would more or less ensure you a place in BESS. Why BESS? Key thing is, I'm running short on time, so I start a little bit late. Why wouldn't you do BESS? There's all these positive reasons to do BESS. I'd ask you why you wouldn't do BESS. Student activities, numerous different student activities once you come into BESS. Connected courses, we have a number of different connected courses. I'm only talking about BESS obviously, which have a number of different ways of studying the things within BESS. And again, I think you guys might well be the experts in this in terms of knowing about these different programs. But these are different things that you can study that are connected with business, economics, sociology and/or politics. If you want more information, there's the BESS website, the university website, pod broadcasts, again, all that kind of stuff. Any 1 or 2 quick questions?